Hey, so here I am in Tartu. This is the second biggest city in Estonia, and I've just arrived and I'm going to be here for a couple of days to explore Tartu. So join me on this journey. Let's see what we find. Okay, so it's a cold January in Tartu Estonia. I just wanted to highlight possibly one of the ugliest buildings I've ever seen. Look at this. I have had a quick peek with Tartu last night. I sneaked into Tartu last night. Well, I didn't sneak in. I walked into Tartu, and so far the centre is incredibly beautiful. So this is not what Tartu is like with this building. And look at this building. This is another monstrosity. So here I am in the Tartu Natural History Museum. What city is not complete unless I've visited one of the natural history museums? Right behind me, the plesiosaur. This is what I think the Loch Ness Monster is. And I think, well, not just me that I think that. A lot of scientists, a lot of credible people think this is the Loch Ness Monster. This was actually found somewhere in Great Britain. It doesn't tell me exactly where, but who knows? This could have been found in Scotland. Maybe. Turns out Nessie here was a bit of a raver, or a bit of a rocker. He was found in Glastonbury.
People get with the sound!
Excellent, man. Excellent. Like, why? Brilliant. Everything. Brilliant.
So that was the Museum of Natural History in Tartu, and it's €6 to get in. And one of the things I found most impressive were the meteorites. Right at the beginning of the museum you see these actually landed and you can touch them, which is kind of rare in a museum because most are displayed behind glass cabinets. this came from space, and it basically landed here in 1947. Look at this. Space rocks, or meteorites. Quite impressive. €6 is definitely worth a visit. Nice little museum. So, here's an interesting piece of art. The baby is in proportion to the man. This is the exact proportions. If the baby was born fully grown, his head would be this big, penis this big. Man is a little bit disappointing, but this is in proportion apparently. So, how do I measure up? So that was the Museum of Arts in Tartu. A little bit small. Pretty much everything you saw is the museum, well, the art gallery. The most interesting display was I walked into a room that was empty, and then two artists basically incorporate you into the art. You might feel a little bit uncomfortable for some. At the same time, because the room was all warped, because if you see this house, it's all kind of leaning, and you may have noticed from the windows, the whole house is wonky, and when you walk in, it kind of feels like you're on drugs. That is the closest way to explain it. €5 to see the museum. A little bit overpriced, I think, especially given how small it is. I'd give it 6 out of 10 at best. So I'm in Tartu's #1 tourist attraction. It's the Science Museum. A lot of interaction, as you can see. There's kids everywhere. Basically, games for them all to play. So I'm going to have a look.
Yes, science!
So basically these exhibitions are all interactive. You see this, I'm sort of standing in the sort of fume now. I've just destroyed the sort of pummel of steam. destroyed it.
I'm aboard, explorers!
So just then, the sea cucumber looks over to the mollusk and says, with fronds like these, who needs anemones? Ah!
people would object because of their disfigurement, deformity, a bit like being called freaks? Do you think?
Well, it gave them a purpose back then. See, if you were a freak years ago, it was work for you. You'd have these circus things.
Mm.
Now, if you've got a funny head, you're on the dole.
Yeah.
Right? Which isn't really a freak, is it? She's going to have a shave. Have a shave, you're not a freak anymore.
Yeah.
A bearded woman, compared to a fella who's got no arms and legs, a bearded woman, you get out. But there was like a fella with no bottom half to his body, called Johnny Eck, was his name.
Now, while this is a science museum, it's obviously great for kids in terms of this is a kids' playground. There's things for all the family to do here. But then I say family. I think as a single individual, it's fun. But is it worth 13 euros? I'm not convinced. Number one tourist attraction, maybe. But on TripAdvisor, I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Yes, science!
So one of the nice things about traveling is basically sampling the new beer. It's one of the nicer ones I've had on the trip. Some of the beers I've had are phenomenally good actually. And here we go, a veggie burger. A little bit boring, I know, a little bit boring, but sadly, well, you've seen some of the food I have been filming, so this is rare occasion that I'm having a burger, but when I do, it has to be a veggie burger.
Hey, so it's about -2 degrees at the moment. We had snow last night, but it wasn't much snow. It just happened to be when I was walking back to my place. Made the mistake of probably staying a little bit too far from the centre. Estonia is not that cheap compared to, well, it's cheap in some parts. You can get a good meal for about 10 euros, but accommodation in Tartu is not that cheap. So I stayed a little bit further out. It just means a longer walk every day. Yeah, I got to experience some of the nightlife last night. It was fun. Just crossing the road before I don't get run over. But yeah, it's a really nice city. You could possibly see most of the sights in about a day, as you can see. Obviously, I'm not going to see everything. And I'm sure there's going to be many people in this video that will basically say, you didn't see this, you didn't see this. That's terrible video. At the end of the day, guys, it's just my experience on the place. I'm not the mayor of the town. I'm not here to bring you here. I'm just here to sort of give you a little bit of insight into what I've seen. And I obviously don't film everything. I just tried to go to the à la coque beer museum. There's a beer basically called à la coque. The immature me finds that slightly amusing. Sadly, museums only open Tuesday to Friday, it seems. Today's a Sunday, it's not open. One person suggested it might have been open yesterday, but I failed to go. Today's Sunday, no cock museum for me. Behind me is a guy called Christian Jack Peterson. He was a poet, he was an author. He was actually from Riga, not from Estonia, but it's generally known that he walked from Tartu all the way to Riga, and that's why he's pictured here with his sort of walking type stick. Having done that journey in the last sort of year, it's really not that far. But I imagine it probably took him about a week or so. It was full pace, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm at the top of the cathedral. I had to walk up 7 floors, a lot of steps. And what's interesting, I was not expecting to get to the top of the cathedral and basically see science experiments. This is electricity science experiments, basically demonstrations to show, I imagine, school children how electricity works and how currents work. And this is very surprising and quite nice to see in a cathedral. So inside the cathedral is the University of Tartu Museum, and it basically illustrates how the cathedral came to be. It's basically one of the oldest, most impressive cathedrals, built in a brick form of sort of Catholic origin, Gothic in design. It fell into sort of disrepute and then into ruins, basically, after the Livovian Wars of the 15th century. The Livovian Wars were obviously as all wars are, fight about religion. One, didn't want Catholics there. But Catholicism had dwindled, and Tartu was a Protestant town before the Livovian Wars, so the cathedral had almost fallen before those wars had started. And then basically the cathedral was then left to basically fall to pieces up until about the early 19th century, so about 1805, the University of Tartu basically established itself here. And then they went about repairing the cathedral and basically building effectively a new one, half the size, and that's hence what you saw from outside. You could see some ruins and you could see a real, the actual cathedral, which is now the museum, which is exactly what I'm in at the moment. But honestly, it's fascinating. It's a beautiful thing. It costs €3 of your student and €4 of your adult, and so far it's well worth it. Right behind me is an Alexander. He was a botanist and an explorer. What's sort of humbling is about this exhibition in this level of the cathedral is about all of the explorers that sort of brought something to the University of Tartu. And it's inspiring because it basically shows them on their travels from places like Hawaii, Africa, South America, up until the Arctic, and it's all these places that people have been. And look, even people who have come from different places have signed where they're from. It's a big world out there. There's a lot to see. You could travel every day for the rest of your life, and you wouldn't see everything. But I'm certainly going to give it a go. I guess the most frustrating thing about exploring a country in the sort of northern hemisphere right towards the Arctic Circle is the fact that it gets dark extremely early. This being January, of course, it's 4 o'clock and it's dark. And actually, this is the Orthodox Christmas Day, so it's a little bit quiet. Not everyone here is Orthodox, obviously, but obviously some people are. So I'm in the University of Tartu's Botanical Garden, in the sort of their natural history museum, really, but basically highlighting the sort of natural wonders of the world in terms of plant form. And some of my favourite plants over here is basically the insect-eating plants. Look at these beautiful plants, and there's some up here. Look at those. Fly falls into that, gets eaten.
Does it have to be mine? Feed me! Where am I supposed to get it?
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long.
If you're a bit squeamish at heights, this place, you're basically sort of walking on holes in the floor. It's quite impressive, but it's a bit intimidating if you suffer from vertigo. I mean, look, that is not glass. That is just metal, very thin metal that you're standing on. So I'm standing on the middle partitions just in case. So this is a beautiful botanical garden, but the only thing that spoils it is the little bird that you see in that cage over there. I don't think there's any need for caged animals in botanical gardens. It just doesn't make any sense. Terrapins, maybe, the goldfish, maybe okay, but these guys, that is not a life they deserve. They deserve to be out in the free, natural environment. That natural environment is definitely not Estonia. Hey, so that was my trip to Tartu. I'm now going to get the train to Tallinn, the capital of Estonia. And from there I'll be getting the ferry, which will take me to Helsinki. As you can see, it's cold. It is January. You might not be watching this in January, but despite the coldness, Tartu has been a nice little break. I totally recommend it for a couple of days. So if you like this video, click like. If you liked it even more, click subscribe, and then we'll hopefully see you on the next video. Until then, keep progressing.